Morning. I'm working my way towards Bunyan Peak today. I'm going to stop here to talk a little anime along the way.
A tree of palm.
A Tree of Palm is a 2002 fantasy anime movie from director Takashi Nakamura. Its setting is imaginative and visually unique, but its storytelling can be a little confusing. It's released in North America by ADV Films. The world is divided into the world above, called Toto, and the underground realm, called Tamas or Below. Both are original fantastical realms of strange land, plants, and animals. The title character, Palm, is a robot puppet. A botanist made the puppet to serve as a companion helper to his ill wife, Xion. Palm is made from the still-living wood of a kulong tree, one of the unique flora of this land, and that provides Palm with both a semblance of life and memory. When the puppet's mistress, Xion, dies, an uncomprehending Palm quietly winds down into total lethargy, having lost all reason to exist. It's all his creator can do to keep Palm from standing still in the sunlight and taking root again as a plant. Palm is a unique creation, and others who see this living puppet will immediately mark him as a valuable commodity. But the plot really starts with a woman warrior from below. She's named Quorum. She's from the Soul Tribe, and she boldly steals something called the Egg of Toto. Toto being the world above, remember. She fights her way free of the others who want the egg too, and ends up leaving it with Palm, asking him to take it to the world below. She also leaves him something called crosskala, which is a bluish sap or oil or something that's a coveted energy source. And Quorum then mysteriously disappears. Between Quorum's visit, the egg, and the crosskala, Palm gradually reanimates with a vague sense of purpose again. He slowly sets out on his quest. When he reaches the city, he runs into a gang of street orphans. But it's when Palm hears the once familiar song that Xion used to sing, being played on a lute, that he comes back to life. Popo is the player of that lute, and she's the daughter of a riverboat trader. She awakens Palm's memories of the dead Xion. In fact, pathetically, Palm thinks that Popo is the dead Xion and becomes her first stalker.
We can't just leave him. Huh? Yeah? And what's gonna happen to us? We're the only family the two of us got. Hey, Palm, what's wrong?
A Tree of Palm is both incredibly beautiful and a little flawed in its storytelling. It'll remind you of Pinocchio, of course, the poor puppet who wants to be a real boy, and it has the quest of a Wizard of Oz and the visual imagination of Yellow Submarine and Time Bandits. The world it creates is fantastical, full of strange scenery, plants, and animals. I like these things called bolas. They remind me of walking saguaro cacti, and you don't want to attract their attention. They're sort of cosmic policemen. There are also some very powerful, almost brilliant scenes contained within this music that serve to limn the really amazing characters. Poor Palm is desperately searching for something, though he's not sure what. Is he looking for Xion? Is he out to deliver this egg? Or is he trying to become human? Or is he just looking for some purpose, any purpose for his existence? At first, Quorum seemed like just a starter character, but we turn out not to be done with her yet. The flashbacks to her childhood have an incredible emotional power. Popo's mother seems a really abusive bitch when we meet her, but in one scene in a trader's warehouse, while they're making flattery and preparing a gift, you can see by the changes in the expressions on her face as the dialogue plays out exactly why she is the way she is. And then there's Shada, the leader of the orphan kids, who finds a purpose from his own past within Palm's quest. But the movie fails a bit at its storytelling. It's totally unfocused, and it lacks a really coherent narrative direction. And since it isn't an action movie but relies on its characters, that's a bit of a problem. A Tree of Palm has total disdain for exposition and just tosses strange terms around without even trying to explain them. The first time I watched this movie, I found it confusing, beautiful to look at, but a little boring. There's a 15-minute making of Palm video on the DVD as an extra. In just 5 minutes, it will explain a lot about the setting of Palm that will help explain all those incomprehensible terms tossed around in the movie, and you might actually want to watch that first before you watch the actual movie, just to pick up some of the information you should have. At one point in the movie, Palm will meet a scholar, a collector of antiques, who's going to have an orrery-like model of the world on a shelf above and below. It just passes in the background without much comment, but it's the clearest indication you're going to get about what this world actually looks like. It isn't just the setting that's confusing, though. It's almost impossible to know who to cheer for. Where is Palm supposed to deliver this egg down below? To whom and why? Is it for good or bad? There are lots of other people after this MacGuffin. Who are they? Why do they want it? Are their motives good or bad? Palm is a difficult lead character. Early in the film, when he's alone, he just lies there like a puppet whose strings are cut. Things happen to him, but he doesn't do anything. We don't hear him speak except in flashbacks to his time with Jii-san. The film editing is actually intended to keep Palm passive in this early stage, even when he isn't. For example, there are early scenes where the other characters are discussing giving Palm directions to Thomas, the world below. And we always join these scenes after Palm has asked the question, but while the others are still discussing the answer. We know Palm must have taken the initiative and asked because the characters are discussing the action, but the movie was edited so that we don't see Palm actually ask these questions. He's just standing there mutely, listening to their replies. A Tree of Palm is pretty much the vision of one man, Takashi Nakamura, who created the world, wrote the screenplay, painted watercolor portraits of his characters, and directed the movie itself. In the past, he has worked with Hayao Miyazaki as a key animator on Nausicaa, Katsuhiro Otomo as animation director on Akira, worked with Rintaro on Dagger and Kamui, and with Leiji Matsumoto on Yamamoto Forever. He also directed the Nightmares segment in Robot Carnival, and more recently he's directed the Fantastic Children OVA series. There's a notable similarity in his style between Tree of Palm and the latter TV series, by the way. Takashi Hirata provided the musical score, a soft, mysterious, electronic synthesized kind of music. It does a really great job of accompanying Palm on his strange journey. It's a musical style as exotic as the landscape. I found ADV Films English dub to be just fine, but the Japanese soundtrack is also available with English subtitles if you like. I'm really struggling to come up with a simple overall rating for A Tree of Palm. It's beautiful to watch and listen to, but the storytelling can be a bit muddled at times, and it will confuse you or worse. But on repeated viewings, I've found that many of the individual scenes in here pack some brilliant emotional power. They just aren't all woven into a coherent emotional tapestry, so the sum is less than the sum of its parts. I could point to some 5-star scenes inside it, or I can admit that I once fell asleep while watching a part of this movie. So, I'm giving A Tree of Palm 4 stars. It's a flawed film with some flashes of brilliance. That's not enough for me to strongly recommend it, but if you're into imaginative settings and willing to sift through a few of these slower settings to find some really gems hidden inside, you may find something in here that you really like. Thanks for listening.
Because today's title was A Tree of Palm, here's a shot of an actual palm tree. This shot was actually taken on a different hike, up to the top of Palm Canyon in the Kofa Mountains. These are Arizona's only indigenous palm trees. Yeah, half the suburban houses around Phoenix and Tucson have planted palms in the yard, but Mother Nature grew these all by herself.